Morning, peeps. I'm nice and relaxed this morning. I've come on to do this video. If I'd done it on Saturday night, like I wanted to originally, it would have been absolute chaos. It'd been effing and blinding, and it wouldn't have been good, to be honest. Well, it probably would have been. It would have been entertaining, I think. But I wanted to calm down and have a look at the facts of this week to kind of put them in perspective to see exactly what's going on, and also gave me time to gauge reactions from other people as to what's been going on. So it's a good job I did actually, because the whole Sun saga has kind of played out, hasn't it? So we'll have a look at that first, because the topic of this week is trust and deceit, and any of you that have been in any type of relationship, with a real person, that is, peeps, will know that once the trust is gone, that's it, game over, game over. So we're going to have a look at that today. So not just content creators, but managers, not you lot, real life managers, and FPL, the people that are running the game, and whether we have trust in any of these people, and whether eroding trust is actually having a detrimental effect, on the game, and also on us in the way we're interacting, and our mood, for the game is being affected by the fact we can't just trust anybody. So we're going to see if we actually can. So we're going to have a look at Sun first. Now, let's have a look. Now, I'm not going to read all this lot out. If you can't see it, it's tough shit. Sort yourselves out, get a bigger screen, get some glasses on, or do whatever you have to do, But basically, all it says is that Sun was awarded an assist after the game, mistakenly. We don't know how. It was awarded mistakenly. Then there was a post put on the official FPL social media account confirming that he had an assist. And then that was taken away, even though the assist remained on the game. I think it was there for about at least 24 hours, wasn't it? Maybe more, maybe a day and a half it was up there. And it got a lot of people worked up. It was like hundreds of people sending FPL emails complaining about this assist. I mean, it was ridiculous. I mean, even listening to Mark trying to explain it on his walking video yesterday, it's like mind-boggling, isn't it? It's like a game of pinball, If the ball comes off this, that and the other and goes here, goes there, if it touches someone's leg, bounces off this, that and the other, then it's an assist. If it bounces off this, that and the other way, it's not an assist, It's all a load of bollocks, isn't it? It's supposed to be a simple game. Keep it simple, peeps. But anyway, we don't know what happened, but in the end, FPL have come good. Now, the first thing is that people were up in arms about this assist, and they were thinking there was skullduggery going on. Now why would people think that FPL were doing anything like dodgy, or that an employee at FPL had deliberately put the assist with Sun because he's got Sun in his team? So that's what people were saying. Or other people, and this could be a good point, is if this had been a match between two kind of lower table teams and some random player had scored, would that assist have been awarded in the first place? Or was it just because Sun is a high profile fantasy asset that this assist was even awarded? So I'm not sure it would have been. It's hard to know, isn't it? But the problem is, and this comes down to trust again, is that we've seen a few dodgy dealings in the past, haven't we? We've seen the Solanke price change fix. Obviously they fixed his price so it wouldn't fall. And, he lost millions of managers. Yet his price didn't even change. And so once you start mucking around with game in this way, then that starts to breed mistrust. And that's problems escalate, and before you know it, people are suspicious of everything, possibly rightly. Because even here, FPL don't exactly say what happened. They just say that it was mistakenly applied. We don't know who by. what their motives were, or any of that. And we also don't know that if all these people hadn't complained, whether it would have actually changed or not. But fair play to them. They've done the right thing in the end. In this new system where they can change bonus points and everything right up until the last minute. I know we don't like it because, you go all week thinking you've got points and then they're taken away. It's good that they get it right, isn't it, really? But you could see a situation at the end of a season where someone wins FPL and they're all happy for like a day, a bit like when Jackson scores a goal. And then a few minutes later he realises, of course, that he's offside, as he usually is, apart from this week when I needed double Liverpool defence. But so this is, I've lost a shred, peeps, lost a shred. But basically, we need to have trust in what's going on. And have we got it? We'll give them a benefit of the doubt this time. But like I said, someone could win FPL, think they've won FPL for like one day or whatever, and then have it snatched away, peeps, because a bonus point might change in the last minute, to give one of their favourites the championship, give them the stress ball and take it away from somebody else. So that's the Sun business. So that's all sorted out, which is pretty good, isn't it? So now we're going to have a look at managers, because we all saw this picture last week, didn't we, of Arsenal team getting off the bus, all visible except for one player who looked very much like Saka, but turned out not to be Saka. There's a lot of people thought it wasn't Saka, and the whole thing was pretty ridiculous, really, wasn't it? Quite entertaining, but it kind of shows the facade and the complete waste of time of press conferences where managers are doing anything but being open and doing everything to be the exact opposite, because there's even reports that they were paying kids to shout out Saka's name when they got off the bus. I think that's probably like a bit of a myth, but there were some reports that this was actually happening, So Arteta's gone to great lengths to hide the fact that Saka's not playing, and it's not because of you lot, peeps. You probably think it is, but it's nothing to do with you. It's because he doesn't want Bournemouth, obviously, to know that Saka's not playing, because Saka has kind of a huge impact on the game, and Bournemouth are likely to alter their tactics if they know that Saka isn't playing. But again, it all comes down to trust. We can't trust anybody. It seems to be the modern world. It's kind of okay to deceive people, to cheat, to do all these sorts of things, to cover up the truth. And it makes you wonder why we even have press conferences at all. What is the actual point of them when the managers are just going to lead us up a garden path, deliberately lay false trails, basically. And it's ridiculous, isn't it? So we can't trust Arteta, and it seems we can't trust anybody else at this stage. So there should be more. I think they should think about moving to the American system, or even the Australian NRL, where teams, they have to provide their team sheets 2 or 3 days before the match starts, or at least report on any injuries have to be reported, so you see them all. All the American fantasy games, exactly who's injured, who's ruled out. They've all got tactics in their games as well, but they still have to be open and transparent regarding their lineups, because it's quite important to avoid betting scandals and stuff. This is why you get all these illegal betting syndicates, and where all these leakers and that come from and profit, because of all the obscurity surrounding teams and all that type of thing. It should all be open and transparent, and we'd all be better off, peeps, if we knew what was going on. Because to be honest, the American fantasy sports are so much better organised, better run, and the whole thing with the injuries and everything is, like I said, much more transparent and open. So here we get. Now we're getting on to the meat of the topic. and this is the content creators, and whether they've been up to more dodgy dealings this week or not. I don't know. I'm going to leave it up to you lot to decide, because again, it comes down to trust and everything else, doesn't it? And there's a lot of them complaining in the last day or two, going on streams accusing the community of being paranoid, and it all being a big conspiracy theory, and all in everybody's heads, that all this. So what we're going to do, we're going to have a quick history lesson just to remind ourselves what we actually do. Because the thing is with trust, peeps, when you don't trust someone, words don't mean a thing. Words are meaningless. It's actions that counts. Actions count. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a quick look at their actual actions before we decide and have a look at this Suckergate business. Okay, so we're going to start off with the hub leak. Remember that, when our Hungarian friend hacked into the hub, stole everyone's passwords and started changing people's teams. It was actually, on one level, it was quite amusing, wasn't it? People were waking up to find that 20 of their players had been changed, and the captain had been changed and all this, and no one knew why. It was like, oh my God, what's happened? Why's all my players changed? Nobody knew what was going on. And this went on for a couple of days. And then the hacker came onto Twitter and said that he'd hacked into the hub. And so what did the hub do? Well, I'll tell you what they didn't do. They didn't tell anybody. They deliberately kept it secret for about 2 days and tried to tell everybody that everything was fine. We had Bakar and all these other people coming on. It's all fine, it's nothing to do with us. It's a load of nonsense. And this was about 48 hours where people had had their passwords stolen, and anything could have happened to them. This is pretty serious stuff. Anything could have happened. And Hub, instead of being open and honest about it, they decided to cover it all up. And it was very bad. It went on for days, and it all ended in tears, of course, literally, with the founder on Twitter in tears, apologising, and, crocodile tears rolling down his face. And all this because they weren't honest and open. So now we'll move on to the next one. Dodgy advertising. Now, last year, even questions were asked in the Houses of Parliament about all this, because there was a report in one of the newspapers in the UK about their advertising and how kids are exposed to watching their streams and watching their programmes and getting all this gambling advertising that they were like pushing onto people as like harmless games, So they still do it now in a way with Sleeper, but the jury is actually still out on Sleeper as to what their main motive is. At the moment, it's not really a gambling site, but you can tell they're kind of just grooming people, and it soon will be, So that's what's going to happen there. So basically, they got in a lot of trouble last year with their advertising. Some of them took their advertising down pretty quick and changed, so good on them. After a big campaign, they weren't keen, they didn't want to do it, and they were pretty much forced to do it by the community, which is, thumbs up community. But others were very slow. I think Bakar and co kept on and advertising and just ignored everybody, everybody saying it's bad. So eventually, I think they've all stopped now, but like I said, very reluctantly. Now, Saliba. Do you remember before last season, before a kick had even been made, Andy on his pre-season stream at the last minute, and the others as well, the usual suspects, all hub connected, suddenly took out Gabriel from their FPL teams and put in Saliba. I think that's the right way around, isn't it? Yeah, they did that. And they had a leak over 24 hours before the game that that Gabriel wasn't going to start. So we know that they have a source in the Arsenal camp where they can get leaks 24 hours before the game is even due to be played. Nobody had a clue other than them. Nobody. There wasn't a whisper of it anywhere. But at the last minute, they took him out, claiming that they'd only just got this leak a minute before the deadline, too late for most people to change their team. But, it made them look really good, So the next week, everyone's glued to their stream trying to get another leak. But the fact is, they probably had this leak for hours and sat on it and released it at the last minute, just so that for their own benefit, basically. And it pretty much, for me, ruined the season before it had already started. People got an unfair 10 or 20 point advantage, because unluckily Saliba went on and got lots of points in the first few weeks, and they were kind of rewarded for their dodginess, which wasn't good. Wasn't much karma going on there, peeps. So we know they've got form for this type of thing, for doing leaks. We know they're a bit slippery from all the hub leaks and the advertising and greedy. So we know all three of these things are facts. We know that. So what they say isn't as important as what they do and what they've done. And so we already know that. So now we'll go on to Walkergate. Now this was a kind of, I think this one was a bit different in that they knew about Walker not starting. I think it was not starting rather than starting. I'm not sure which. I didn't pay too much attention to this one. But they knew, but they chose not to actually pass on this information. This is what they do. They give you breadcrumbs. The Saliba one was just before the season to hook everybody in. And then some they keep for themselves, like this. I think this Watergate was one of those where they keep it for themselves, and we didn't know about this. But then I think one of the content creators came on and admitted that they'd done it. I think it might have been Mark, and admitted he was on the private group and he heard that on this private secret WhatsApp group or whatever people call it. So we know that exists too. And they heard that Walker wasn't going to start and took him out of the team. And he did admit, he apologised, I think, for this. He sort of said he felt really bad doing it anyway. And it didn't feel good, he said. But the fact is, they all did it, basically. So they all did it. And they didn't tell anybody, And they probably argued, well, we told people about Saliba and we got in trouble. So we're not 100% sure it's accurate, so we don't tell anyone. That's the line they come up with. They've always got a good excuse afterwards for what's happened, So now we know, pretty much we know they're slippery when it comes to leaks and everything. Now the next one is Fernandez, which this is more about deceiving people in another way, because all pre-season, Fernandez virtually had no mention of being an FPL asset. And it wasn't until kind of 15, 20 minutes before the deadline that all the hub streamers suddenly started going, I quite like I quite like the look of Fernandez. This is Andy's. I probably regret it, but I might put Fernandez in. Like he's acting on his own. I might put Fernandez. And then you find out that all of them have put Fernandez in just before the deadline, despite doing draft streams nearly every day for the entire pre-season, and none of them had Fernandez in. Nothing had changed, yet suddenly they'd all put Fernandez in right at the last minute. Now was this to some attempt to differentiate themselves from their followers, to kind of give themselves an unfair advantage? Whatever it was, it didn't work because Fernandez had an absolute shocker. So maybe karma did in fact work in that situation. We don't know, do we? But it was a bit odd, But obviously they weren't working independently, I think, because they all, as it turned out, remember that program I put on after the first week, Dunk Console Winks, when they all had They all had the same team, didn't they? I looked at about 7 or 8 teams, and they were pretty much identical, weren't they? Dunk, Conser, Winks on the bench, and Fernandez, and all that type of thing. And I'm going to show you a team later. You might find it amusing. 2 people's teams, 2 of their teams, and see what they're looking like now, like 8 weeks later or whatever. But that's just another example of where they are a bit underhand, I mean, when content creation started, it was all about, people were part of the community, and there are a lot, I'll tell you what, there are a lot of great content creators out there. I want to say now that the ones that do it for the love are absolutely fantastic. There's a lot of people they do it for their own entertainment as much as anyone else's, and they genuinely want to inform people, help people, and there's a lot of them. There's too many to mention. If I don't want to mention them, because if I do, I miss lots out. Do you know what I mean? And it looks, but they're all great. There's lots of them. And then there's other ones that are good too. Like more mainstream ones, like FPL Harry. You can tell by looking at him that he's a good, solid person. He's not the sort of person who's going to try and deceive you. No, he's got good knowledge. He's actually a very good manager, and he relays that information to people with no hint of trying to do anything dodgy whatsoever. So some of them are really good, and then there's this other lot that are very, very dodgy, and nearly all of them seem to emanate from the hub. I don't know why, but they seem to be all connected in some way, and this is why people are talking about there being a cartel. I've seen a lot of this stuff on Twitter about a cartel, but this is why, and they say it's all a conspiracy, but when you look at all the facts and all the various incidents that have happened over the years, you see that it's the facts speak for themselves, basically. Whatever they say isn't really trustworthy anyway. They've proven that. So you can't go by what they say. You can only go by their actions. And so now we're going to move on to Saka this weekend, because people's initial reaction was that this was yet another one of their dodgy deals. And you could be forgiven for thinking that, I think, because of their history. They might say, they've all gone on and said, Son was a logical transfer. And he was. I took out Saka myself. I took him out the day before because I needed to get Haaland in. I was a bit worried about it because I thought at that stage Saka was going to play, and I had to take Watkins out as well to get, I brought in Haaland and Johnson. A lot of people did the same. Saka's got bad fixtures anyway. A lot of people were taking him out. But these guys, what's suspicious about them is, I was going to say the timing, because they all the ones I looked at, all took Saka out within 1 or 2 minutes of each other, like just before the deadline. But I don't think we can pin that one on them so much, because they always make their transfers in the last few minutes. And the reason they do that, of course, is because they're looking for leaks. That's what they do. They look for leaks. And the ones that actually stream do it at the last few minutes because they're kind of online with their viewers, so they have to kind of do it live. So we can't really pin that on them. In fact, they all did it at the same time. But what is kind of suspicious, I think, not so much suspicious, is a bit odd, is how they all went to Son. All of them went from Saka to Son. And Tottenham were the early kick-off game, which are very often, they do have leaks for that early game. And maybe they knew Son was starting or whatever. But all of them went Saka to Son. And during the week, they had barely given Son a mention. In fact, a lot of people were talking about Foden as being the one to bring in. And to me, he would have been the more logical choice for the next few games. Foden, despite the outcome this week, I think he would have been at least as good an option anyway. So you'd think that, and then there's Johnson, other players that people could have brought in, but every single one of them went straight from Saka to Son, all at the same time. Why did none of them go for Foden? Why did none of them go for Johnson? It's just odd, you know. And they've come on and said it was just a kind of logical thing, and it was in a sense. So we can't really prove. There's no way of really proving that this was one of their leaks that they've done, you know. But when you weigh up their past history, like I showed you before, then you have to start thinking that there's a good possibility. So they can't complain. You're picking on them, or you're being suspicious with no foundation to be suspicious, because there are foundations to be suspicious. Because week in, week out, they're looking for leaks, they're finding leaks, they're hiding leaks. You know, if they've done it before, they'll do it again. And someone sent me this. You see this under my picture here. Someone sent me this the other day, and I've got no idea of the veracity of it or whatever, but it seems to show it was before the match. So it seems to, well, the screenshot is before the match. You know, I didn't get this tweet until after the match. But this tweet was posted before the match, and it shows the Arsenal team, the correct Arsenal team. Now, I've left out the name of the person that posted it. You know, he's got a lot of followers, and he is followed by all the suspects for the leak. You know, all the Andys and the Bakars and all them all follow this fella. And he's got, like I said, he's got a lot of followers, and he did post the correct team quite a while before the deadline. So, you know, so it was out there. It definitely was out there. And I think there was, they keep referring to this Arsenal TV programme, which kind of, someone on there as well, kind of hinting quite strongly that Saka wasn't going to play. So there was grounds to think Saka wasn't play. Whether they actually knew because of the team sheet like this guy here, we don't know. But what we do know is, of course, is that they do have an insider at Arsenal, because last year he got that 24 hours before with the Saliba news, and that really was hush hush. You know, nobody knew about that. That was completely out of left field. You know, that was high level leaking going on there. You know, Arteta wouldn't have been impressed with that, would he, if he'd found out who was doing it? So that's about it, peeps, for the thing. We just don't know, do we? We don't know. I'm going to show you something now. Here's two teams. This is Andy and big man Bakar. Now, they both took out Saka for Son, of course, right at the end. But what you notice here is, after 8 weeks, they started with very, very similar teams. Since then, they've both wildcarded. But you see here, they've both got the exact front seven. They've both got Fernandes. You know, that's really the differential here, isn't it, in their midfield? They both did Saka to Son. Like I said, you know, why didn't one of them go Foden? Is it following the AI? I don't know. I don't know what the AI was recommending this week. But you can they've still got the same team. And when Andy comes on his stream every week and says, oh, I might get this player, I might get that player, I might get this other player. Oh no, I think I'll chuck this one in. You know, kind of off the cuff like he does. And it's always the same one that Bakar's brought in. And you think, well, it's not really off the cuff at all, is it? It's kind of, they've all been in their little group discussing what the best player is this week, and they all come to the same conclusion. You know, it's not as random as it's made out to be, you know. So it's ridiculous peeps. So I'm going to show you now what real players look like. Now this is a real league, you know, not a Mickey Mouse blooming copy league. So we're going to have a look at this. Right, where are we? Hang on, peeps. Get my bearings. Right, this is my community league. So I got beaten this week. Look, here's the proof. Look, I left the captain on Solanke because I didn't have Haaland at the start of the week, and I didn't have anyone to captain, because without Haaland, who do you captain? So I had my captain on Solanke. Then I went to change it. I'm sure I changed it. You know, maybe I've been hacked. But I was convinced I'd changed my captain. I looked at my team before I went to bed, and I woke up and it was on Solanke. I was horrified because I spent 4 points taking out Saka and Watkins just to get Haaland in for these next 2 games so I could captain him. and I captained Solanke, so I wasn't best pleased, but by a miracle, I got away with it. It's crazy, isn't it? Crazy, crazy, crazy. And that was, I think, because I was using the iTeam. iTeam's great, for thinking ahead and everything. But it was a danger. You change your team on iTeam and then forget to change it on the actual app. I've heard of people doing that. I've never done it myself until this week. But, Jesus, it wasn't good, peeps. Right, so I lost to Bateman, Mr. Bateman, always on Twitter, always on about advertising. He's a nut job, obviously a nut job, but we love him, so but he's got Real in there, he's got Jackson, Eze, he hasn't got the same team as Bakar and Bloomin' Andy and all those ones, he's got different players in, not many of them. Admittedly, he's got Eze and Real, Jackson. Yeah, that's quite a big differential, isn't it? He's got Sugarara, whatever his name is. So who else done well? Old Dredd came top. I had a look at this team. This team's fantastic. He's got a Salah and Haaland team. Remember when we all had them before game week 3? So he's got a Salah and Haaland team with Rodgers in it. Watkins is in it. McNeil. He's got Guardian and Lewis in, so he's well set up for next week. And he got 55 points, and he didn't even captain Salah. So, it's a bloody good team. And but it's different. Like I said, it's different again, isn't it? Here's Steve-O from Elite FPL. I think it's Elite FPL, isn't it? Saliba. Got Palmer in, again, different. Delap. Watkins. So again, different from the creator template. Here's a Hindu monkey, template boy, of course. We'll have a look at him. So even he. He's got Diaz. Well, they all had him too, didn't they? They got rid of him. They probably knew he wasn't playing and he didn't. So he's fairly template, like I suspected. But at least he hasn't got Fernandez. Now, our old mate Wag, she got 52 this week and was the only one who captained Salah in this league, I think. It's got Vardy, Watkins. Got 50 and still had -3 from Saliba. It's got Pickford as well. Doing well without any City players. See how she gets on this week. Might not be such fun. Nima runs a really good, does a really good show, this bloke, every week, like a magazine type, like talking to people, fireside chats and all that type of thing. Got Havertz in his team, Foden, he's the one who brought Foden in. I can't understand why everybody went for Son and none of them went for Foden, unless it's kind of a sign that they're all in it together. It's just another sign. Here's my old mate Blindside, look. See how we got on. Palmer, Eze. See, so everyone's got something different, haven't they? All of them, pretty much. We've got someone different. What's happened here, peeps? So, let's go to a summary now and have a look. So, they're saying it's all a big conspiracy theory. There's no funny leaking and all this type of thing going on. But as I showed you from the evidence, there's a long history of it, and a lot of it, of course, we know nothing about. And the thing with trust is it's very toxic, isn't it, once it's gone. Toxic. And the recommended advice is to remove yourself from any kind of toxic situation. So if you're looking at these people, don't. Go and watch decent streamers instead. Because you're just being manipulated. We saw it with Fernandez at the start of the season. We've seen it with their hide leaks. Even when they put them on really, really late. And they're just manipulating their audience. They're not part of the community. They're manipulating the community for their own financial gain. And he said before, I've heard Andy say on his stream before that he doesn't care what people think of him, which is, in some ways, it's good not to worry too much about what you think about other people think about you. But when you're doing dodgy stuff like this, it's just a sign that you're mentally, it's not good, is it? Most of the major criminals and that share the same kind of traits, don't they? You just don't care, basically. They're ripping off the community, but they don't give a shit. So all they care about is making their money, and that's it. So if you watch these people, just be aware that you are being manipulated in various ways. So and you're also giving him money, which you don't really want to be doing, do you? Because then you encourage him to do it even more. So we see here that they dismiss any criticism as conspiracy. They keep leaks of themselves via their WhatsApp groups. They spread some leaks to make themselves more popular so that you keep tuning in. They show you a bone, they treat you like a barnyard dog, they'll show you the occasional bone, and just to keep you hooked. So they brought this mistrust on themselves by their actions, and they've got a history of greed and manipulation. So basically, they can come out and say what they like about this Saka to Son move this week, but it's harming the game. The whole thing's harming the game, And if I was FPL, or to do with creating the the official FPL content, they should not really be having anything to do or have these people on their shows, because they're clearly just greedy and out for themselves. And like I said, they're manipulating the community. And FPL need to move above that. They failed to move the deadline. So but it's got to this point now where even moving the deadline is not going to make much difference, because the leaks are so far out, and you'd have to put it like at least 24 hours ahead, I think, to stop all the leaks. And even if you move it to game time, there's still going to be people getting leaks for the later kickoff. So it's very difficult to know what to do about it, and what can they do? Can they do anything about people that are spreading leaks? Not really. They can kind of delete their teams, maybe, certainly not have them on official shows or anything like that, but there's not really a great deal they can do. We kind of just have to live with this now. But what we can do is not help them be financially rewarded. They've even got, there's even leakers now have got Patreons going. They charge people to be on their private Patreons, and they give them leaks. So they're profiting from FPL managers now as well. And you can be guaranteed that these hub people, some of these leakers that are doing these, one of them was advertising to try and get people for his Patreon the other week, and he had hub in his bio, so it's all there, peeps, all points in one direction, so it's not good, peeps. So anyway, that's enough of that. You're probably sick of it now, aren't you? You begging me to do a video the other day, telling me I bottled it and I wasn't going to do one, and all this type of thing. I was just kind of waiting till I'd calm down a bit to get a proper perspective on what's been going on, because like I said, I've given them a benefit of the doubt in some ways. Maybe this someone wasn't fair doing, with the leak, but doesn't really matter, because we know that they do it all the time anyway. They've got a history. Don't listen to what they say, just look at their actions, and continue watching them too, because not literally watching them, but watching their moves, because shifty peeps. Anyway, I'm off now. I've had enough. I've got to get out for a run. I kind of got up really early. I went for a quick run around the block, and then thought, oh no, I'll come and do this first, and I'm going to go back out again in a minute. So what's the time? It's only 5:30 in the morning. I've been up early, and all right, go for a run, go down the gym, and we've got an early deadline this week, haven't we? Which is interesting. So let's see if they've all got wood in their team. They'll probably all have wood in their team on Friday, won't they, when they hear that he's starting, and then they can tell us, oh, you know, Wood's fantastic, he scores every week, so it's obviously logical. So we've all bought Wood, or somebody along those lines anyway, or maybe even Vardy, but you can guarantee whoever it is, they'll all make the same move. Anyway, peeps, I'm off now, so I fixed my old like and subscribe screen. So like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you all later. Anyway, so cheers for now then, peeps.